I'm Fred Gimas, and I'm a game director on Marvel Cosmic Invasion.
First thing I want to ask you is, what was the biggest takeaway your team learned from Shredder's Revenge that you brought into Cosmic Invasion?
So I think like the team knew that the beat 'em up genre would be, it's still alive and strong, there's a lot of interest in it. And having a beat 'em up game that is a bit more mainstream or have like focus more on the action and on the arcade action, getting rid of tons of enemies at the same time, was something that came out as the strength of the Shredder's Revenge. And this is what we thought would work best also to kind of improve on with Cosmic Invasion. As you know, these guys are superheroes. They need to, they can't get beaten by just a single bug. They have to be swarmed and, and plow through all of these hordes of enemies. So yeah, it was a great learning on keeping the action strong and fast.
Yeah, because the beat 'em up genre kind of went away for a while. The last one before you guys did yours that I can recall that was big was Castle Crashers. Like that was the last big one. They've had other ones, right? They were smaller, and I feel like you guys kind of lit a fire in the industry saying, hey, no, the beat 'em up genre can come back and it can still be good. And you guys even had your own modern twist on it because it wasn't like the 90s arcade games, which arguably those games were designed a certain way, and that way was to eat quarters. That was how they were designed to. But your game was so much fun, and now you guys are on to Cosmic Invasion. When did you guys start this project? Was it right after Shredder's Revenge, or you guys in talks to do this while you were working on Shredder's Revenge?
So when we finished Shredder's Revenge, we tried to look at what would be the other universes that we would like to tackle, and on top of all this was obviously the Marvel universe. So we started talking with Marvel, and at one point Dadimu, who was a publisher on Shredder's Revenge, also had the same idea. So again, we decided to team up, make a pitch, and basically keep the ball rolling and start to work on that game and pitch ideas and try to figure out exactly what part of the Marvel universe we wanted to tackle with this game.
Now, I know you guys, you're obviously not going to tell me the other several characters that are in the game. You just announced She-Hulk and Rocket. How do you guys decide who you're picking, just in general? Is it like a tier list? Is it a voting system? Or is it specifically like Disney has to be like yes or no?
Obviously, picking the characters in the game was the biggest challenge because there's so many superheroes to pick from. And I have my favorites, everybody have favorites. So when we decided to settle on the list, it's a big list, like 15 playable characters for a beat 'em up. It's like, I don't know many games that did it, especially like since this is day one in the game, it's not DLC, it's 15 characters you get with the game. So even though we had many, we had to choose. And so, of course, we have some fan favorites like Spider-Man, Captain America, but we also wanted to have characters that would match the tone in the universe we're tackling. So Nova, Phyla-Vell are in there, and many new surprises. So yesterday we announced She-Hulk and Rocket Raccoon, two widely different characters. So every characters we try to have in the game, we also think of them like in terms of gameplay and how we can bring like fresh new ideas to the table. So and keep things fresh. And I think like the gameplay first aspect is something that's also very important. But yeah, at the end of the day, we could probably have a roster of 100 characters easily, but we would probably explode.
Each character has to go through design, right? You have to, design each character, the movesets, the specials, and that takes time. You can't just skin swap, right? It takes time.
And that's something that we didn't want it to do. We wanted to make sure that every characters would be, behave exactly how you would expect them to be. So like if you rip them out of the page of a comic, like they have to be authentic. Like Spider-Man does what you expect Spider-Man to do, and it's the same thing for all of our characters. So we really want to make sure that they are all unique, and this is why we have the Cosmic Swap, that new feature that we brought in, where you have two characters and that you can alternate during the gameplay in real time, and have these crazy combos. Because at the end of the day, we wanted to make sure that when you play Wolverine, you're playing Wolverine, but if you want to have like a flying character like Storm at hand, like you'll be able to do so by just using the Cosmic Swap to switch characters.
Who did you get to voice these characters in the game? Can you talk about that?
We didn't announce anything yet about the sound, and we were kind of maybe subtle on that, so we'll see in the future. But what we can listen to in the trailer is the amazing soundtrack we have from T-Lopes, who's back. with us from that we worked before with on TMNT Shredder's Revenge. So, but yeah, there's probably things to announce at a later date at one point.
Yeah, because like, it's funny because, you've had multiple renditions of these characters being voiced in feature films, in other video games, in television, but what I harken back to is like, could they find the guy who did Venom in Marvel's Capcom 2 or 1? Can they find that dude? Who was that guy? Because he has that very iconic, a lot of the 90s kids know that we are Venom.
We are Venom.
Give up, spoil sport.
Give up, spoil sport.
They know those lines. They have them in their head. It'd be great if you could find those people and put them in your game.
I mean, I would say that if we would have to, find people to voice these characters, like we'd probably, be fans of things and have, people that could do it correctly. But again, as I said, like maybe this is something that we're not ready to talk about today. So
I gotta say, it's great seeing your Venom in this game. You did a mishmash of like the Spider-Man Todd McFarlane Venom meets like the more Alien-esque. It's like the perfect mix of both. Because I know that's with Venom especially, he's tricky because some people like the Alien symbiote version of him, where he's tentacly and doing a lot of stuff, and some people like the Todd McFarlane, where he's just like Spider-Man but in a black suit. It's really impressive you guys you combined that perfectly, I feel, in your game.
Yeah, we always try to make sure that the characters would like. We love to say at tribute games that we make games like plays like you remember. So we want to have like characters that kind of behave how you expect, whether it's from your memories from the comics, or memories from specific games, or seeing like actions that comes from different TV shows or cartoons. So we try to always pick the best. Like for example, our version of She-Hulk that we revealed yesterday is even though she wears the classic She-Hulk costume, she's more inspired by the latest version in the comics, where she's really like almost a wrestler. So we always try to catch everywhere, but also bring them with the unique tribute touch, so that the game feels like a tribute game as well.
Is it difficult in a 2D brawler to make these characters feel different from just, because you're doing a lot of smashing, right? You're doing a lot of combos, but make them feel different in terms of how they hit, how long their combo strings are, and just how they play? Because it can be very difficult in a 2D environment to give that differential. I'm thinking about like X-Men or Team Ninja Mutant Turtles Arcade that didn't really have any difference. You just kind of all hit.
It's obviously a lot of work because, especially when you have 15 playable characters, you need to figure out like how they behave. And the thing that we tried to stick to the most was making sure that these superheroes are expressing themselves as they would like in the comics, in the cartoons, in the all of the stuff from the 90s era of the Marvel universe. And at the end of the day, it's all like a lot of brainstorms, a lot of fine-tuning, making sure that all of them are unique, and then going brainstorming with our animators to make sure that they all look amazing and fun to play.
Marvel has such a deep history, right? Of course, you're always going to have your Spider-Mans or Wolverines, but I walked by and I saw the Beetle, and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't seen him in decades. Like, you guys really went down deep in those deep cuts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a ton of fun because with Marvel, obviously you want to have like the fan favorite, the big names, but they also want you to have characters that haven't been seen in other games or other medias before, and have your own twist, like Phyla-Vell and even Nova. Apart from some like Marvel vs. Capcom games, he's not a character that we've seen much in video games, and is basically our main character because in this game. So it's always fun to bring these characters or fresh, because that's what's fun about the Marvel universe as well. Finding out and discovering new faces that you haven't seen before.
How long does it take you to like make a level and like have it flow well and get enemy placement correctly and enemy pattern correctly and more importantly, have it all be fun?
Yeah, so it's a long process for sure. Like for enemies and characters, it's hand-drawn animation. Even if it's pixel, it still needs to be planned out and thought of in terms of motion and everything. So it's a lot of time. For the stages, what we do is we try to usually work in a rough version of that stage with the rough versions of enemies, or where enemies are done and ready, and we iterate on that, and we play test, and then we figure out what are the ingredients that make sense. So for example, in the demo we had the heli carrier, so we wanted to make sure that at one point we'd have, for example, turrets that you can interact with and use to plow through like incredible amount of enemies, and these things are like what keeps also the stage and the gameplay fresh. So they're very important parts of the gameplay. But overall, afterward, like it's probably almost like a month work of to go through from start to finish on the stage.
How long does it take to, from a previs, you have your character approved, Spider-Man's approved, Disney's like you can use him. How long does it take from previs to actually playing him in the game, having him be fully animated? Like, paint a time frame approximately. How long does that take?
Yeah, it's probably about the same amount of time. Like how we work is usually we have like these rough versions of the characters that are built from sketches. So you basically play like with a sketch character that doesn't have like many frames of animation. So we can at least have an idea of are these abilities working and are they fun and like how the character will end up being. And once we're happy with that, then we go into the animation process. And for a playable character like these, depending on the size, it will probably be between like 2 to 3, 4 weeks sometimes worth of animation, like especially characters like Venom who are big and full of details. And then when they come back, we are able to actually focus on the gameplay and making sure that they feel good, tweaking. But honestly, the tweaking part is probably until the end of the game. Sometimes we play a character and we realize that, oh, you know, it would be fun. Like, for example, with Phyla-Vell, when we throw the sword and we teleport, that you actually go through like the enemies, and so you slice through many, like more than one enemy when you do it. And these are the kind of things that we like allow ourselves to, you know, do in the game to keep them like we're not done until we're done.
So like, you know, it's funny because I don't think people understand in a pixel art game if when you have a 3D model and something's not working right or doesn't work, you just change the joints and change the rigging, right? But if you have a pixel animation and something's not working right, you have to start over. Is that still the case with your tech?
So, I mean, if we would to be like change completely character, definitely we'd have to do it. So that's why we, you know, every character that we design, we start with the kind of sketch sequences so that we can actually figure out is the gameplay good, and then afterward it's just a matter of tweaking. But yeah, this is basically traditional animation, so each frame has to be drawn by hand, so you don't want to have to change a small detail. So it's good to make sure that beforehand, that when you're starting to, you know, do the final animations, that everything is good and ready to go.
Like with Unreal 5 and Unity and all these tools and graphics, like games can look visually amazing in 3D. Do those tools help you in making a 2D brawler that's pixel art? Do those tools help you, or is it the same process it's been for the last 10 years?
So it's not the same. Like obviously the games that we make wouldn't run on, you know, old school hardware. Like a Super Nintendo couldn't handle like what we're doing for sure. Like even a PlayStation. So the way we, you know, we don't use the same tools and same engine. We have our own like in-house engine. We don't use the Unreal tools. But at the same time, I think having our own things also makes, you know, our games unique, and you know, it's a different vibe. Like you have many Unreal games that they all look great, they all look amazing and realistic, but at one point, it's kind of, they all end up, you know, feeling the same, as opposed to when you look at like a game like Marvel Cosmic Invasion, you kind of see, oh, I think it's from the same guys that did the Shredder's Revenge, because I can feel like I can see some similarities.
But like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is it more difficult making a 2D game over a 3D game?
Oh, there's a lot of people are wondering if it's easier because it's 2D. Actually, I think it's might be harder just because of the fact that everything we do like in pixel has to be done by hand and such. But no, I've been making 3D games before. Like I worked on huge productions like open world and all of these types of games. And making a game is never easy. And the process, I think, is for making a 2D game like this is probably more manageable to some extent, because we are really focused on making an arcade experience instead of making like a big open world full of, you know, things to check marks on a map. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's always a challenge, and it's not easier because it's in 2D. But we're pretty good, I think, at tribute games, especially to kind of plan ahead and figure out how to make these games like the most efficient way possible, but also the most unique ways.
What did the success of Shredder's Revenge open up for your studio?
So obviously it was a great business card to to share with people. So we were approached by many people to see like if we would have interest to work with them and such. So it allowed us, I think, to be able to reach for like who would be our ideal partner for the next project. And yeah, Disney and Marvel were obviously like another universe that we wanted to tackle. Like I'm a big fan of Marvel, as you noticed by the fact that Beatles in the game. So when we approached them, they were like, "Oh, you know what? That makes sense. That's a great idea, and let's make it happen."
So I'm only going to ask you one question about one character in the game,
right.
and it's the one you've seen in the chat, in the Discords, and everyone claiming, "Can we get Gambit?"
So I think at the end of the day, I'll say it. I don't think I'll be able to have everyone's favorite character in the game because there's so many, but we never know. Like these things, we only announced 9 characters to date. There's more to announce, and who knows what's up for the future.
6 more. 6
Yeah,
more.
6 more. There's 6 more to go, and that's enough, quite frankly, for now.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about game dev in 2025?
Oh, that's a good one. I think a lot of people there's one thing I think that always comes back is it's either a game has to be made by a team of 500 people or made by a team of like one guy in a basement to actually be like worthy sometimes. For a tribute game, we're a small studio. We are like 20 individuals. We're like a very small team in terms of when you compare it to other AAA productions, but the video games don't have to be like those massive 500 people projects that takes 8 years to ship, and you don't need to have like a team of one guy in a basement to actually be something impressive. I think like 20 people can come up with something that is actually worth the time, and it's pretty cool as well.
I also feel like your studio has a great crew. Like you don't need a game to be 40 hours long to be fun.
Yeah, I think like the type of games we make, like beat 'em ups, are usually games that you want to play co-op with friends on the couch. And what I like is when my friends come over, you can grab drinks and snacks and you'll go through a complete game, and then we're done. And if we want to play it later, we can replay it, but we can actually manage to see the whole game together. So I feel like there is a lot of value in replayability. So that's why on Marvel Cosmic Invasion, we not only have like a crazy amount of characters in the game, but we also have a lot of content to unlock. We also have difficulty modifiers, so players can also tweak their experience to make it easier or even make it more challenging. But yeah, I think the replayability aspect is what keeps those retro games alive.
So like when you have unlockable content, does that mean we make it Wolverine in his blue and yellow outfit, or is that something you have to do because they're hand drawn? You have to just create another character from scratch again, and because you can't just do a skin swap, right?
We'll have character palettes in the game for sure. We had the same thing in our previous game. So, but yeah, we'll see. If you have character palettes, I mean, a man can dream.
Some of these bosses that I see in your game are like they're animated, but like, how easy would it be to turn them into a playable character?
That's a great question. I mean, it depends. It depends. We'll see, but everything is possible when the way we work. Like I always love to say that it's better to build tools and building like actual like mechanics that are proper. So if you build the tools, then you can make any mechanics you want with it. So a lot of our game is built that way, that it's flexible. So again, who knows?
Well, because like you have Taskmaster in the game too, and he's not gotten a lot of representation in the live action films either. Like, I'm not going to argue and shit on the one they use, but Tony Masters is awesome, and he's snarky, and he's funny, and he's great, and I would love to see him in a movie, but it looks like you nailed his aesthetic here.
Yeah, we're a big fan of Taskmaster as well, and we wanted to have like the classic version with the suit. But yeah, maybe like again, like I said, we have more stuff to announce, but we could potentially maybe have these characters being playable.
In a perfect world, if Disney were to be like, yeah, just we don't care, they'll just stamp anything. If you had one character in the game that they could just stamp for approval, like who would that be and why? Like no limitations. They're like, you can use whoever, we don't care. You don't have to worry about approvals or licensing. You can put whoever. Who would you want in the game?
All right, so that's like a trick question to know if for me to reveal a character that
Right.
might be in the roster.
Might be in the game, or people confirm he won't be in the game, right? That's the.
So I'll say one that I find like that is going to be like really out there, and that I won't say if he's in the game or not, but if I'm revealing him, it's probably because you can figure out that he's not. But one character, like I said earlier, when we think about all of these characters, we try to see who would be fun, who would be like in terms of gameplay. And at one point, we were making fun with thinking about the Alpha Flight, like Puck. Puck is a super small brawler character, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's a very obscure character. But I think this one would be like, in terms of gameplay, it could be fun. It could be fun.
Dude, that's a deep cut. Alpha Flight, like people don't know who they are, right? Like Sasquatch and Puck, and like, yeah, those are great characters.
We know who they are when we're Canadians, so it's a Canada superhero theme, so it makes sense.
Oh my god, man, this is awesome. So when can we play Marvel Cosmic Invasion?
So the game is planned for holiday 2025, so this year, later. We'll have an announcement on the actual release date a bit later this year. Like, we have plenty of things left to announce, but yeah, stay tuned, but it's coming out this year.
And then, as a last fun question, just did you guys sit down and play all those classic brawlers? Like Captain America and the Avengers is one of the early ones. Of course, the Konami X-Men one, and then that was really it. Spider-Man has had a lot of them with varied degrees of quality over the last 20 years. Maximum Carnage, some other ones, very janky. But like, did you guys play all the classics and see what we can do? And I've even seen some like NBC like the silhouette following. Like I've seen some of that stuff in your games. You guys could go back and play all those, or did you make your team play all those before making the game?
Well, actually, I'm a big retro game collector myself. Like, I love playing retro games. Captain America and the Avengers is, I think, an underrated title. Like, it's full of cheesy one-liners. It's full of attitude. It's pretty great. It's great.
It's so bad, it's good.
You cannot beat me.
And I really love that game. Or obviously the X-Men arcade, the titles, Spider-Man, Maximum Carnage, and Separation Anxiety on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis are good ones. So these are titles that we play all the time at review games for sure. So it wasn't a matter of being forced to play them, but mostly like trying sometimes to replay these classics just to refresh our memories. But we're pretty active yet still on the on the retro game front.
So I know you guys are doing Cosmic Invasion now, and I'm going to talk to you all day. This will be my last question, I promise. Is your game now? But like, what's next for you guys after this comes out? Like, you guys, are you guys going to tackle The Simpsons? Are you guys going to tackle Sunset Riders? Are you guys going to go back into that deep bag of beat 'em ups and shoot 'em ups and try to do something in your own style? Sunset Riders was great. I would love to see a remake of that.
I mean, obviously we don't have much to announce on that front for now. But yeah, we're pretty much focused right now on delivering the Marvel Cosmic Invasion game. Our team is very dedicated to the title. Like we have more surprises to announce, and I think for the future as well. But yeah, as of today, I think our focus is on the Marvel side.